In this video, we're going to have a look at the amplitude section here, which allows us, as I said earlier, to modulate the amplitude in different ways. Now we'll start off with the envelope. So I've got a preset loaded up here like a pad sound, as you can hear there. And we can use our traditional ADSR envelope controls here, attack, decay, sustain, release. So attack is the amount of time it takes to reach the maximum level. So that could be immediate. But when we bring that up, you'll hear we have that slow onset of the note. So it's soft descending, which for a pad is generally good. So it sounds more kind of bowed with the slower attack, as opposed to more of a plucked sound when the attack is fast. Now the next control we have is decay. Now this is the amount of time it takes to reach the sustained volume. So out of the four of these controls, sustain is a measurement of volume and the other three are measurements of time. So if we bring the sustain down, that's going to mean the resting level is going to be lower. So you can hear there we had that kind of zero attack, so it's very plucky sounding and fast. And then the sound, let's increase the decay, is going to take, in this case, 3.15 seconds to reach this volume. And as we hold down the key, the volume is going to be lower than at the end of that attack phase. So we know the attack time is the amount of time it's going to take to reach the maximum level. Decay is the amount of time it's going to take to reach the sustained level. And then release is going to be the amount of time it takes the sound to disappear once we let go of a key. So let's make the attack very fast. Now you can hear there's a little bit going on the tail there. That's just a reverb. So now there's no release really. And as we increase the release, you hear that sound tails away longer. So this really gives us a wider palette of sounds that can be created. Okay, now there's another really important control here, which is velocity. Now, if we hold down Command and we click on it, it'll take it down to 0. This is going to mean that velocity, let's just bring this down, has no effect on the envelope. So no matter what velocity I hit the key with, the same volume is going to be outputted. If I increase that, it means a soft velocity is going to output a soft note or soft sound. If I press it hard or fast, the sound gets louder. We can actually reverse that as well. So we could press hard to get a softer note and press soft to get a louder note. I can't say I've ever wanted to do that, but you can do it if you want to. And then we have an overall volume as well. Which is the amplitude level there. Okay, so next up we have the LFO. Now this allows us to add in a tremolo effect essentially, so we're modulating the volume over time. It can be a really powerful effect. Now first of all we can increase the amount, so this is the amount the LFO is going to be affecting the volume. And then we have a rate, controlling the rate of that modulation. Now furthermore we can actually sync the LFO to the note on message. So the attack is going to be the same every time we press a note, whereas if we switch that off, every time I press a note, it's going to be kind of starting at a different position in the LFO cycle. So basically it's phase locking the LFO in this case, much more consistent sounding. In this case, it's not. Now, with the beat option switched on, we're going to be working with beat divisions. And with it off, we're working in hertz. And then we have the option to change the waveform. Square wave. We have this wave called an exponent wave. We have nothing, we have it switched off. Triangle, sine, saw, square. So you can see the different waveform options there. So next up we have this position dial here. Now this allows us to change the start point of the LFO essentially, or the start point of the phase of the LFO. Let's put this onto a sine wave. Let's just actually turn down the release a sec. Now if we change the position, You can hear we're triggering different start points of the LFO cycle every time we press a note on message. Now, the next option we have is fade in. This is going to add an attack to the LFO modulation. Really nice. So we can bring in that modulation over time. Like so. That is the LFO section. Now, in addition to our two modulators here, envelope and LFO, we have this curve option here. Now, this allows us to change essentially the envelope's curves. Let's just go back and reset the LFO so it's on 0. So we're just going to hear the envelope. And we've got a bit of an attack time there. We could change the slope of this attack. So you hear that's much more of a gradual fade up as opposed to that. We could do the same with the decay as well. So let's bring the sustain down. So it really depends on what you're going for. And we've got the same with the release as well. And that's the curve option. And there we have the amplitude modulation. So to recap, we have the envelope here, attack, decay, sustain, release, velocity to determine how much velocity is going to affect the level, and an overall amplitude. An LFO here with the option to sync to a note on message. So the LFO phase is going to start from the same point every note on message. We can sync that to the project tempo, or we can have that in hertz. Like so, we can bring up the amount here, positive and negative. Waveforms are accessible from here, which you can change it by clicking on the button. We can amend the position of the LFO phase on a note on message. We can also fade that up using this fade in kind of attack time. And we can change the curves for our envelope by using the curve option here. Okay, so now we've covered the amplitude section. In the next video, we'll have a look at our filter. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.